So here we're going to multiply by powers of 10. Our equation is 4 and 75 hundredths times 10 to the third power. So we know in multiplication that when we multiply numbers together, our numbers get bigger. That means if we're looking at a number in the place value chart, they're going to be moving to the left, getting bigger, growing in value. Our exponent, the 3, just tells us how many place values to the left we're going. So let's go ahead and start. And here are the steps in solving this equation. So we're going to start with step 1. Step 1, we're just going to rewrite our number. Rewrite the number. And that's that first number in the equation, which in this case is 4 and 75 hundredths. I'm going to make sure my decimal is really big here. And I'm going to start to build a place value chart around my number. So here's step 2. Step 2 is build your, and I'm going to abbreviate PV for place value, chart. Now, let me move my instructions a little bit because they're going to kind of get in my way. So as we're doing this, the reason why we draw our place value chart is to see exactly how those digits are moving as we solve this equation. So now I'm going to build my place value chart. So I'm going to just draw a little kind of dotted line in between each of these digits in my number. And I'm going to label my place values. So I know that with the decimal separates our whole numbers from our parts of a whole, or fractions, or decimals. So the 4 is going to be in the ones place value. The 7 is in the tenths place value. The 5 is in the hundredths place value. Now we're going to go back up to our equation, and we're going to look at our multiplication sign. Now we just said multiplication, our numbers get bigger, which means our digits move to the left in the place value chart. So I'm going to draw an arrow pointing to the left, telling me that I'm going to have to move to the left. All of our digits are moving to the left. They're growing in value. Next, I'm going to look at the exponent. And in this case, our exponent is 3. This is going to tell me how many place values. How many place values each digit will move. Now in this case, they're going to be moving to the left. In a minute, we're going to be moving to the right. Okay, so that was kind of step 3. So step 3, okay, is just identifying the direction you're going in and exactly how many place values. That's going to tell you that I need to draw 3 additional place values down here in my number. So I'm going to do, there's 1, 2, and that last open space is 3. So I've got to label tens, hundreds, and thousands. Now that was I'm going to change our colors here real quick. That was the 1, 2, 3 that matches my exponent 3 up here. Okay, so now let's go ahead. We're going to start with the 4 only because the 4 is closest to the left, which is the direction that we're moving in. And it says that the 4 is going to move 3 place values to the left. So I'm going to change colors again. We're going to go 3 jumps, 1, 2, 3. So our 4 is going to move to the thousands place. Well, 4 is the leader. The 7 and the 5 are the followers. They're the best friends, so they're going to travel with them. So the 7 is going to move 3 place values, and it will land in the hundreds place value. And finally, the 5 is going to be in the tens place value. Now, here's where our decimal lives. Our decimal never moves. It always lives between the ones place and the tenths place. But I've got some blanks. I have some blanks here. And although the ones over here, those are okay to have because they're not going to change the value of our number. But this one here, we have to fill. We have to fill that because I can't leave my ones place blank with nothing. Now, is that? So I'm just going to fill that with a 0. At this point, I'm going to come back down and rewrite 4 and 75 hundredths times 10 to the third power. And that's going to equal this number here, which is 4,750. Now you can test that by saying 4 and 75 hundredths times 1,000 because 10 to the third power is the same as 1,000. Of course, 1, 2, 3 zeros in 1,000. Plug that into your calculator, and you should get 4,750. All your digits have moved 3 place values to the left. They've grown in value. And if you compare your two numbers, this number and this number, 4 and 75 hundredths, is less than 4,750. So you are correct. Now we can take the same equation and we can say 4 and 75 hundredths divided by 10 to the third power. Now this time we have a division symbol. Well, when you're dividing something, you're splitting it into smaller groups. You're getting a smaller value, so your digits are actually moving to the right in the place value chart. Now again, if I come down and I say, I'm going to rewrite my number, 4 and 75 hundredths, and I'm going to draw a place value chart again around the digits in my number. And I'm again going to label that 4 is in the ones place. 7 is in the tenths place. 5 is in the hundredths place. Now, I'm going to look back up to my arrow right here. It's going to tell me that I'm going right, which means I'm getting smaller. I'm getting smaller. Okay? And then the 3 tells me each digit is going to move 3 place values to the right. So here, let me kind of erase my mess here. I'm going to, since I'm moving to the right, I'm going to add 3 place values to the right. Now, these are going into decimal numbers that are smaller than we normally work with in 5th grade, but this is just showing you what's happening. So, the next 3 place values to the right are going to be 1,000th, that's a 5th grade standard, and then we'll expand out, so there's our first place value, then 1/10,000th, and then our 3rd place value is 100,000th. So there's our place values. Now this time, again, we're dividing, we're getting smaller, so each of our digits is going to move 3 place values to the right. So in this case, I'm going to start with the 5 because it's closest to the right-hand side. So I'm going to move that 5 1, 2, 3 place values to the right. So my 5 is now here in the 100,000th place. Again, the 7 and the 4 are going to follow suit. The 7 will be in the 10,000th place. The 4 will be in the 1,000th place. Now, I have my decimal. There's my decimal in 4 and 75/100ths. Here's my decimal still between the ones and the tenths place. So I have 1, 2, 3 spots that are open. Well, opposite to what we talked about with multiplication, I have to fill in these areas here. Have to fill, because those are now placeholders for my tenths and hundredths place. This one is optional. You can fill it with a placeholder 0, or you can leave it blank. Either way is correct. It doesn't change the value of the overall number. Now, I'm going to fill in my placeholder 0s, and I'll go ahead and fill in the optional one too. So I end up, get rid of some of this. When I go to rewrite my equation, I will have 4 and 75/100ths divided by 10 to the 3rd power, and that equals 0.00475. So 475/100,000ths. And again, if you wanted to plug it into your calculator, 4 and 75/100ths divided by 1,000, because 10 to the 3rd power is equal to 1,000, and that would equal 475/100,000.